Welcome to episode number 8 of Exploring Genuine Transformation. This is a show. My name is Lori Beth Goldman, and I go by Lori Beth on Facebook. I'm a coach and psychotherapist and healer for those of you who don't know me. And I created this show to be able to bring on amazing coaches, healers, and teachers who are talking about the realm of transformation in a whole range of topics. But most importantly, one of my big interests is transformation for the sake of awakening, transformation for the sake of freedom, transformation is for the sake of being more of who you are, so rather than the outcome. So I'm very excited. Today we have intuitive marketing and brand coach Halley Bass joining us. So I'm going to add her right now, and then I'll introduce her more. I don't see a way to add you. Can you try to add yourself, Halley? I see you watching. Let's see. No. Halley, let's see, is there a way that you can try to get yourself to join? Because I seem to have a struggle with this if you don't ask to join. Let's see. Oh, bring a friend. I just figured it out. Hi, Hernan. Welcome. So we'll just wait for her to come on.
Hello.
Yay!
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm seeing if I can also share this on my wall. I would love to be able to share it with my people as well.
Yeah. Are you hearing an echo? I'm hearing a voice.
You're hearing an echo?
No.
Let me put my headset on.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with us through this technical issue. Let's see.
Hello?
Hi.
Is
Yes.
that better?
Thank you. Much better.
Yay. I just got a new
Yay.
phone. So.
Yay. Well, welcome. So I wanted to, as we start, I want to introduce Halley. She is like I said, an intuitive marketing and business and brand coach. And she works with, I'll let her tell you who she works with, but she works with all kinds of people to really help them to get in touch with their authentic voice, their authentic wisdom, and their authentic message, and bring that out in their marketing. And one of the reasons that I was really excited to bring her on, we've kind of been tracking each other online and enjoying each other's writings, because to some extent there's some similarities in them, which is, we're both really on fire about transformation. And Halley does this through her work. So helping people to really bring out who they really are so that they can be seen. And in that being seen, in that showing of yourself, there's an immense transformation that can take place. So without further ado, that's my introduction. I would love for you, Halley, to tell us a little bit in your words about the work that you do to give our viewers a context for your work as we begin this interview on intuitive marketing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for putting this amazing show together, Lori. And I just love everything that you've been posting about, and everything that you're talking about is so alive, I think, for so many entrepreneurs. So Hi, everyone. My name's Halley, and I am an intuitive business coach and marketing and branding coach for solo entrepreneurs. I truly believe that we go into business as a spiritual path. We are not just here to make money. Of course, that is a wonderful outcome of being an entrepreneur because the sky is the limit in terms of how
Mhm.
much money we can make and how much impact we can have. But the reality is that being a solo entrepreneur comes with all kinds of challenges that anything else in life does not really give us. And one of the things I love talking about is finding your unique message for the world because I really truly believe that each and every one of us has unique gifts and particular message that the world needs to hear. And a lot of the people that I work with are soul inspired, heart centered entrepreneurs who's who are taking their life experience and all the gifts that they've been given and all the learnings that they have in life and want to share that with the world. And what's beautiful about social media is that we have now this amazing means to share all of our wisdom with the world. So that is truly what I believe we're here to do, and we're here to create new ways of being, and we're here to share our message, and that is what I'm here to support entrepreneurs to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Um, well, so I'd love to just start out by you saying a little bit more about what you see intuitive marketing as.
Sure. So there's a lot of business coaches out there that are like, here, I have this model, follow this strategy, it works, no problem, and just follow the steps X, Y, Z, and out pops your results, right? And the truth is that it never, ever, ever works that way. Every single entrepreneur is different in their approach to business, is different in the way their style of living life and the things they want. And some people are moms, and some people have like are highly sensitive, and other people are just like super go getter and want to work 60 hours a week, and they won't tell you that they work 60 hours a week, but it looks like they're like nailing it, but they talk about the freedom lifestyle, right? But everybody has a different way of doing business.
Mhm.
So the intuitive way is really being able to really listen to yourself, your needs, your body, what feels aligned for you, and taking action in what feels exciting for you, what feels good for you, and also following strategies that are tried and true and will work over time with applying them.
Mhm. So you do a combination of both helping somebody get into alignment with kind of like who they are and what their like what their individuality is, we could say, kind of like how they're working, how they want to work, sort of who they want to work with, and then with bringing that, you combine that with more of the strategies that are kind of tried and true. Is that what you would say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people have no idea like how to even build an audience, right? And there's specific tactics and techniques that you need to follow to build an audience. For example, one tried and true thing that you need to do is build an email list, right? And some people don't even know where do you even start with building an email list, right? So that's just one example. And then there are, a million different ways that you can build an email list. You can do a webinar, you can do speaking engagements. So there's a lot of different options.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really like what turns you on, what excites you, what do you have time for? Um, and that's the strategy piece. And then there's also like what is the content of what you're going to talk about in that webinar and what you're going to talk about on your social media postings. What are the like your core values and the key themes that you want to address in your content? And a lot of people are still figuring that much out. And that's always changing depending on where they are in their life and how their business is evolving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, thank you. And I'm curious how you would work with somebody to kind of get them um, to support them around like knowing what it is that who they want to serve, what their content is, what their themes are. How have you gone about that with people?
I think the reality is that most people already know inside of themselves who their people are. A lot of times, your ideal client is you 2 years ago, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but they don't exactly know how to clarify that themselves. So I come in and I ask you really pointed
Mhm.
questions that get to the core of what key problems you solve for people and what key solutions you're offering to people. And I help you really define that. And it's so enlightening because sometimes when you're in it, you can't see the forest for the trees and you're just like, I just want to help women be amazing and be fabulous and express themselves more fully. But it's like,
Mhm.
okay, but how do they know that they want to work with you over all the other million, coaches that do that, right?
Mhm.
So there are specific questions that I ask you to get clear on how you differentiate yourself and how is someone going to know that you are the exact right person to help them with the exact problems that they're solving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think I'm curious about kind of like there's so many people online, let's say, right? And potentially there's so many people doing the same, around the same kind of work. Let's say like I do a lot with women's. I mean, that example could have could have worked for me, obviously. Um, a lot with women's empowerment and embodiment and sovereignty and whatnot. And yet there's so many people doing that. So how, like let's just take me as an example in this case. Like how would, you know, how would I know how to differentiate myself from all the hundreds of other people doing the exact same kind of work.
Right, exactly. So part of it is really truly you knowing your value and owning your value. So, for example, I know this about you, Lori. You have so much experience, like 20 years of experience or something like that, right? Like studying
Yeah.
meditation and mindfulness. Do you know how many coaches are missing out on that
Mm-hmm.
very specific skill set, right? That like are you talking about mindfulness and meditation in your content? Are you letting people know that this is something specific that you have so much understanding of, and that particularly when it comes to mindfulness, where do people need support, right? Like some people are so scared to even like meditate, and it's like, what even is meditation? And I know it's supposed to help me, but I don't know how. And right, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
that just one thing you could riff on so many topics
Mm-hmm.
just related to that one piece of what's unique about your experience and
Mm-hmm.
what's supported you on your journey as a women's empowerment coach. So
Yeah.
that's just like one example,
But
right?
so, but so, like in that example, what you might like, what your suggestion would be, it sounds like, would be to take, let's say, I mean, I have also been a psychotherapist for 10 years, so that's another thing that I can, probably use, but it's not to necessarily announce it, but more to show it. Like, what are the benefits of, this is a background that I have, and these are the benefits. This is how it's going to specifically, um, support you in as a woman, let's say in this case, like, in your journey to experience to feeling more confidence and, feeling more like you're you and more like you know, you can get your voice out into the world, for example. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the first thing to really understand is what are the key problems that you want to help people solve. And sometimes that requires you to do some market research and really get a sense of who do you want to serve and what are the really, like, what are the overarching problems that they're having. So you could really get clear on like, oh my gosh, this is a really niche market that I want to serve, and they're having this,
Mm-hmm.
like, all these women that I'm interviewing are having this one specific problem, and I'm going to really focus on that in my marketing because I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing that this is
Mm-hmm.
coming up over and over and over again in all these interviews that I'm having with these women. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one approach. Another approach is just educating people on what you have learned about the benefits of meditation. And like when you were starting out and you didn't like, and you had all these problems, you didn't know that like this was going to be the solution. But over time, these are the things you learned about mindfulness and how it supported your personal journey. And people are going to relate through you speaking about your personal journey. And when you speak into specific challenges that you had, and how mindfulness has supported you on your journey, people are going to resonate with that because they also relate to that experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's cool. We've kind of been talking about the strategy part of it, and hopefully people are getting, a sense of, as you watch, a sense of Hallie's work and also her brilliance and the way that she's able to. I mean, I find you to be, we've had several conversations just offline, and I find you to be, and it's happening again right now, like very clear in your method. It's like you kind of know all the pieces, and then I could see you guiding people really effectively, to getting that clarity and then just being able to stick with that clarity, which is, I think what is so important, right? To be able to be like, okay, now I have these themes that I'm going to write about. Now I have this content. Now I know what I'm putting my energy into. I kind of want to throw a curveball into this conversation, if that's okay, because
Sure.
I have personally, and Troy and I actually named this last week, so it's great that it's coming up again. Just I have personally struggled with kind of strategy and agenda. Something in me kind of just gets small. I'm like, ugh. Like I've done courses and I've worked with certain strategy. Okay, I'm gonna, people need to feel like they're getting this ROI, so I'm gonna create this ROI or whatever, and or I'm gonna like find the right themes. And so I'm really curious. I'm trying to think of like exactly what my question is, but I just sort of want to talk about the other side of, when I think of intuitive marketing, I think of really going with what's alive inside of me. And I've tried both approaches. I've tried to like take on a lot of the strategy with what felt genuinely aligned. And I've also tried to just kind of see whatever is moving through me kind of moment to moment and keep coming back to my, devotion to the truth and sort of my alignment to like, okay, I know that I'm here, which I think many of us do. And you said it's a spiritual practice. I know that I'm here to, bring in my purpose. I feel that. I know that. Like there'd be a much easier route would not be trying to do that, right? As you know,
Yep.
um, as we all know. But those of us who feel called, right? So, yeah, I'm just curious kind of like how, your experience with playing with those two sides. And obviously I'm making them a duality. And so for you, you might have a beautiful way of kind of connecting them together. But I just find, that, I mean, we've had this conversation offline, and that this is kind of an ongoing tension for me. And I know it's a tension for others as well, who just are like, I just want to be kind of free in the moment, and I just want to express myself. Like, to me, authenticity and intuitive, and being intuitive is actually just, putting out my voice and what feels right. It's not, whenever I start to think of the strategy, I start to get tight again. So I'm just really curious, yeah, how you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that conundrum. And I love what you said, like the difference between duality and sort of just being able to flow with everything. One of my coaches always says, number one, if you're resistant to something, there is something there for you to look at and like explore, because what you resist persists. And also, when we're in a
Yeah.
growth edge, resistance is a sign that there might actually be something for you to look at in terms of your where your growth edge is and what you might actually need more of. So even though you're saying like you're resistant to the strategy piece, or maybe you're resistant to structure, maybe there is a piece there for you to explore in terms of, what scares you about having consistency, what scares you to
Mm,
committing
mm,
to a particular message and really defining a particular result that you want to support your clients and achieving. So that's one piece of what I want to say. But that's not everything. I think you're right in that there is a spectrum of where you are in your business. And sometimes you are just in that creative exploratory phase,
yeah.
and it's just important to just play with your messaging and play with what feels alive for you and practice putting yourself out there, making yourself visible, and just sharing what's alive for you and seeing what creates traction.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking about this before, sort of like all marketing people do like A/B testing. This is like a technical term. Like with an ad, for example, it's like, does this message work or does this message work? Which one's getting more tractions? What's actually working for people? What's resonating for people? So if you look at all your marketing and all of your content as an experiment to
Yeah.
see like what's actually creating traction, what are people attracted to, what are people feeling like.
Whoops, we just lost her, I think. Ah, are you
Sorry,
just
my
froze?
connect.
That's okay. I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna move over out of the sun while we're in this little moment.
Okay. So I was just on a roll here. What are people? What's working? What's not? Sometimes you'll put something out there and nobody will respond and nobody will comment. And maybe some people saw it, but like, okay, maybe that's like something that's not working. And then you post something else and you're like, oh my God, 85,000 people like love that post. Like, I need to talk more about that. Right.
Yeah,
So really just you like, it's an experiment with your
yeah,
content, experiment with what you're talking about, and really see if there are consistent themes and consistent
yeah.
concepts and ideas that people are really resonating on and go with that.
Yeah, I love the answer to that question. I mean, I love both sides of your answer because the one, right, is that there's always, I mean, in any healing process, in any transformational process, there's always resistance, right? And part of, I mean, this is what I love about your work is that you're all about like, this is a spiritual practice. Like this is like spiritual transformation to become, an entrepreneur who's deciding to kind of carve their own way. And so,
Yep.
within that, it's like we get to learn so much about ourselves and we get to use it as a practice of where am I closing down? Where am I trying to avoid something, and where is it just not genuine to me? And I also love the second piece because one of the ways that I see healing and spiritual growth is like that we can just play with life, that it can be an experiment, that we can just have fun with it, that it doesn't have to be so serious and so locked in. Like it can be something that it's like, this is part of it. Like I'm exploring more of who I am. Like you just said, I'm putting myself out there. But the one thing I would add to you, and I've heard other, people have different sort of takes on this, but I've heard from a lot of people, or from some coaches feel, and I think I do feel this to some extent, that what's actually important is that just the act, well, you and I have talked about this, just the act of expression, that it's actually in some ways, yes, I can track, or a coach could track like, oh, this is getting this kind of feedback, this is getting this kind of feedback, but something about the like raw expression of who we are. And when I know that like, oh, I just expressed this and it was vulnerable and it was an edge, there's something that's really satisfying about that. And that's part of the transformation. Like that's part of the growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that visibility, that experience of just being seen more, right? And putting
Yeah.
yourself out there, because you could hide all day long and you could sit and talk about your problems with your friends and repeat the same challenges and the same problems, like, and just keep talking about it all day long. But the minute you put it out there and you witness it, and then you say, I actually want this to be a learning experience and I want to actually
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
teach it to other people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we teach what we have to learn,
Yeah.
and that is like the ultimate. I'm listening to the audio of A Course on Miracles, and that's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
They say we teach what we have to learn, and that's really how I see like our soul journey in this life too, is like every experience, every challenging experience that we have in life is meant to teach us a lesson. If we don't learn the lesson, then we repeat it again
Yeah.
until we learn the lesson. So if we're putting ourselves out there and we're sharing the lesson with others and we're sharing our journey as a means to also like maybe inspire somebody else who might be having to learn that same lesson. And they're like, oh my God, that I'm so happy that Lori just posted that because I felt the same way. And now I
Mhm.
don't feel so alone in my experience. Or, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I just had a light bulb go off. Thank you so much for posting that, Lori.
Mhm.
That's the whole point. It's not
Yeah.
always about the
Yeah.
bottom line and making money.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about the impact that we want to have. And
Yeah.
also, one of the coaches I follow says, impact first, income second. Like impact leads to income.
I yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyway. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I just this conversation's kind of at the edge of my like it's dear to my heart and also sort of at the edge of kind of things I've been thinking about a lot because it's like I understand that there's a role for, seeing what people need and that's also then you're of service, right? Like that actually feels more in alignment if it's not like, oh, I have a strategy or an agenda, it's more like, oh, I want to be of service to like the right clients to me. I want them to be able to find me. I want them to know that what I'm doing and that I'm out there, right? Then that also shifts the perspective for me. It feels like it's more about a contribution and an offering than it is about I'm trying to figure out the like exact right way to, market and because I think there is a lot of that out there, right? Like there's so many people out there, so many marketing or business coaches out there promising these like really huge results, from using these different techniques. And I think we all can be kind of like many of us are suckers to it, right? Like it's really easy to be like, oh my God, they figured this out and and that's some of the marketing I have to say that I have actually been turned off by
Right.
because I'm like, also because I've participated in some of that stuff and then it's like, okay, is this really working? So, I think it's everybody has their own way with it, right? And obviously you're teaching your way, which I think is a combination of it sounds like it's a more fluid way of bringing in the strategy. Like first and foremost, you're really interested in helping people kind of know who they are, who they want to serve, get really clear about their messaging, and and then allow the creativity to come from there, and for them to then express that into the world in all the various ways that they could, that are true to
Exactly.
them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like not just like, oh, here, do these techniques, follow these techniques. And if you follow them and if you do them, like they will work.
Yeah.
Because like some of them won't work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if that doesn't work, like you could try it again and maybe, tweak it a little bit. But if that doesn't work, is your energy behind it? And if your energy is not behind it, it's not going to work. So then you have to step back and say, why is your energy not behind that strategy? And
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason for that. It's either, maybe you have some fears around it and you need to work on like worthiness or confidence,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just that strategy just isn't working for you and you want to try a different strategy.
Yeah. Which again, I love that because it sort of gets there's more play in that. And it's also that there's not an assumption that, oh, this didn't work for you. So therefore it either like you're doing something wrong or you're having resistance. You could be, but it could also be like, wow, that's not that exciting for me. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Like we're all so unique and we're all so different. And,
mhm.
I believe we all have the potential to be, entrepreneurs because okay, so recently I actually looked up what the word entrepreneur means, and it means in between ways. And what I love about that definition is that as entrepreneurs, we are seeking like new ways, new roads for like how to solve problems in the world. So that's all that means is that being an entrepreneur, you're somebody who's interested in creating a new way that
Mm,
has never been created before. That's all that you need. So it doesn't mean that if you can't be an entrepreneur if you're not like super, super driven by money. There are certain things you can learn any skill, like how to be self-disciplined but it's like, if a coach is telling you to do something a certain way because it worked for them,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that's like totally okay. Doesn't mean you're not a good entrepreneur, you know, or like you're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really important that we understand that the entrepreneurial path is a spiritual journey, and there are so many growth edges, and we have to be willing to say, like, hey, like, I need to look inside and see what's going on for me in this experience and what can I learn from it. And that's going to happen at the same time as the strategy, and you have to be willing to slow down and say, okay, I'm not necessarily going to get the results as fast as I want them, but I have to be willing
Mm-hmm.
to look at what's going on inside of me and what do I need to learn here and where can I grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things that could come up in, that can come in like up in visibility, that can come in, like you said, need like resistant to like strategy. It could be resistance to structure. It could be resistance to money. Like money is a
Mm-hmm.
huge
Yeah.
topic. It could be all these things, but all of these things are helping us grow and expand and become better humans and really like
Mm-hmm.
just be like have more flow. And it's all just, yeah, I just see it all as a spiritual path of just like becoming better humans.
Well, I also,
So
yeah, that's beautiful. I love the last part of what you just said, and one of the things that, I mean, first of all, the thing that came up for me is I've always said as a therapist and as a coach, like the slower the better. So it just was a reminder of that because there's such a desire when in healing and transformational work to be like, I'm going to move through this thing and then then I'm going to be free from it. And it's actually always true that when we slow down and we just, go inside, or we're just try, like in your case, this is about knowing what's happening inside, but it's also trying different things and then saying, how did that work for me? Even like, how did that feel? Like, did it feel good? Am I happy? Am I happy that I am going this route, or is that a little bit off? I mean, all of those, like, just like being, I mean, this is also how I feel more aligned in terms of doing my business, but it's just being more with the moment to moment, right? Which sort of like slowing down, feeling, knowing, okay, this is the next step right now. And part of that can be strategy. I mean, what I'm hearing from you, right? Like that could maybe overcome my resistance to strategy. Part of it
that
could be
is
like,
your strategy.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying. That's true. I'm trying this thing. How did it work? How did it feel? And then there's things like, I was thinking as we've been on here, I did a Facebook Live last week that was about my fear of getting on camera. For some reason on this interview show, I've moved through that, but when I'm on camera alone, it's harder. And it's like knowing in myself, like, no, this is actually an edge that I want to get better at. Like, I have a lot to say, and I want people to be able to like feel me. And sometimes I don't want to write about it. Like, writing's a lot easier for me. So it's like knowing, it's slowing down that process, taking the risk anyway, playing with it, having fun. I mean, that's what I'm kind of getting from you, right? And then like sometimes being like, whoa, I wish that would have gone better. And it's like, okay, well, next time. There's always a next time. I'm just being. And then that's part of the healing and the growth that happens. And the second point I was going to make, based on what you said, and I just kind of came to it, is that it seems to me that when we're in that kind of playground, I guess like that's, you sort of called it that, or maybe I'm calling it that, and we're also being with the process moment to moment, that we feel happy and free within every step of it. It's not just when we get the client or when we, have this much whatever in our business. Because I think everybody's had the experience of having a goal, and maybe you get to the goal and then it's like you feel empty, right? So I mean, that's what came up for me when you were talking as well. It's like moving slow, and then also just being with the entire process. It sounds like that's what you're really gifted at doing with people.
Yeah, I think exactly what you're saying, we tend to undercut ourselves and tend to be our own worst enemy. And the one of the growth edges of life and of being an entrepreneur is being your own best advocate. and having that positive self-talk and saying, you know, you did a great job, you put yourself out there, really looking for the ways that you have improved, the ways that you are making strides, the ways that you are progressing, instead of looking for like, oh, you know, I didn't close that sale today, or like, oh, I didn't, you know, nobody liked that post. You have to consistently be looking for the ways that you're making progress,
Mhm.
and you have to be your own best friend and truly love yourself, because no one's going to hire you unless you think you are the cat's meow. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, ugh, like I suck, like, who's going to hire you? You have to really believe in yourself and know that you're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, that's such a big piece of it, obviously, is sort of like your vibration and your energy and your authenticity coming through. Yeah. Yeah, and
Hmm.
love the I think it is really obviously that's part of also is any spiritual path, like any, you know, your work is working with business, you know, with people who are creating businesses. My work is actually just working with people who are healing, you know. And so, but it's the same process, right? Because it's like you're doing the deeper healing and transformational work while you're also noticing what's going, you know, like where you're building that esteem, you're building that sense of like internal worthiness and confidence, like, oh, I can be with anything, I can be with all this, and look at all the ways that I'm growing, and look at all the ways that I'm showing up in a positive way as I do this, you know, maybe more challenging work. So I love the connection between those. And yeah, just really appreciative of the way that you yeah, the way that you're coaching people around marketing and branding, you know, and that it is like I can feel in you that it's this is why I wanted you on the show as well with this topic. But you know that it's coming. The depths of it for you are like you see it as this spiritual journey, and you're holding people through that. You know that's the scaffolding that you're doing with people. So super beautiful. I yeah love hearing everything you have to say.
Thank you. I love talking about these ideas so much. So
Yeah,
thank you for the opportunity.
yeah. So I think this is a good place to end. Does it feel complete for you?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for days, but of course,
Well, is there anything
totally.
else as we, I mean, I want to, yeah, as we kind of shift, is there anything else that you would love for our viewers to know that we have not spoken about?
I think I just want to say, just to, I guess, put the icing on the cake, is like, you know, really be connected with yourself and really love yourself and find your joy in all of this. And if you can, you know, my slogan is be the brand you wish to see in the world. So really and truly, like, you know, walk your talk and love yourself and feel good. And what makes you feel good is what's gonna attract your clients to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yay. Um, so I'd love for our listeners, viewers, for people to know where they can find you, follow, you know, follow you online, and also what kinds of programs you have coming up, what you're up to, ways people could work with you.
Awesome. So I have two offerings right now. I do my one-on-one coaching, and those are in 3, 6, and 12-month packages. And I offer branding support as well as marketing strategy, as well as this kind of thing that we were talking about today, visibility, working on your inner experience so that your energy matches with aligning, you know, with attracting clients. So if that interests you, and you would love to explore working one-on-one with me, you can find my website, haleyclairecoaching.com, and you can book a free 30-minute strategy session with me, and we can go into exploring what might be the right fit for you in that capacity. And then I'm also collaborating with my business partner, Jen Harrison. Her and I have a program called Intentional Social Media, and it is a 4-week course where we really support people in just putting themselves out there more on social media. So if social media is a growing edge for you and you want to market yourself more on social media and you want a supportive community around just practicing putting yourself out there, and if you want some structures that are going to help you design your content and just give you some of the information on how to market yourself on social media, then that program would be a really great, it's a 4-week kind of introductory course just to help get you to put yourself out there more on social. So if you're interested in that, to just message me because we're in it right now. We're finishing the first round and we're going to run it again in September.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you can, you can follow Halley also on, I tagged her name on here, so you can find her on her Facebook page, and she posts beautiful things there as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, everyone. I wanted to just, again, say that my name is Lori Beth Goldman. I go by Lori Beth on Facebook, and I'm a psychotherapist, coach, and healer. And currently, I have also intensive healing transformational containers that are 3, 6, and 9 months. And I would say I'm a women's empowerment and freedom coach, and I do a lot of work with embodiment and just sovereignty and confidence and finding your voice, and also just feeling your own wholeness and worthiness. And I do that by offering healing work and also repatterning of the nervous system. And through all of my years as a psychotherapist, I have developed my own way of doing that. That's through the body and your emotions and through the energy body. And so I have a very specific, very intricate, nuanced way of kind of like providing that healing to you. And then we do a lot of, like, in addition, that helps to clear out space for, for more of your fullness and wholeness to come out and more of your expression. So you can find me on my page and also at my website, which is loribethgoldman.com. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you again next week. Thanks again, Halley. So wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.